Existentialism and nihilism are two philosophical currents that are somewhat connected, especially in discussions about the meaning of life, individual freedom, and the human role in the universe. Let's explore these two perspectives, along with other philosophical approaches that deal with existential questions that have been debated since ancient times. Existentialism is a philosophical movement that began in the 19th century and developed in the 20th century, focusing on individual freedom, authenticity, and human subjectivity. Among the main existentialist philosophers are Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, Albert Camus, Martin Heidegger, and Friedrich Nietzsche, most often associated with nihilism, but also highly influential in existentialism. In the reflections and approaches of some thoughts, key themes and points emerged for discussion and reflection, which we will understand throughout our philosophical thought today. In the realm of freedom and responsibility, the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre formulated his theory centered on man in his personal situation. For Sartre, man is thrown into the world freely, and it is up to him alone to build and shape himself. There is no metaphysical obligation that dictates how man should act, who he should be, or even his values. Sartre's main and most famous argument is that we are condemned to be free. This means that even though freedom may seem like a burden, we are always responsible for our choices and actions. Existentialist freedom is not a gift but a task that requires effort and constant construction. To be authentic, for existentialists, is to live according to one's true nature, rather than conforming to social or external expectations. Heidegger describes this as living inauthentically versus authentically. Anguish, or anxiety, is a natural response generated by freedom and responsibility. Sartre and Kierkegaard describe anguish as an inevitable consequence of our freedom, as each choice implies the possibility of error, which is naturally linked to every choice inevitably. Camus' existentialism is established in the absurd because, according to him, the realization of the absence of a why is the conclusion reached when delving into individual freedom. If there is no prior essence, no plan to follow, no certain destiny, everything is possible. Camus explores the idea of the absurd, the tension between the human quest for meaning and the apparent indifference of the universe. For him, recognizing the absurd does not lead to despair but to a passionate revolt against it. Nihilism, often associated with one of its main proponents, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, is based on the belief that life has no intrinsic meaning, purpose, or value. Nietzsche saw nihilism as an inevitable consequence of the death of God in Western culture, an event he metaphorically described in his works. Nietzsche did not see nihilism as an end but as a transitional phase. He proposed the creation of new values through the concept of the Übermensch, Superman, an individual who creates his own meaning and values in a godless world. There are also concepts of passive nihilism and active nihilism. Passive nihilism is the resignation and acceptance of the lack of meaning, while active nihilism is the conscious destruction of traditional values to make way for the creation of new values. Secular humanism emphasizes the importance of reason, ethics, and justice, rejecting reliance on religious or supernatural systems founded and based solely on beliefs, excluding science, and advocating that human beings can lead ethical and fulfilling lives without the need for religious beliefs. Related to existentialism, but more focused on the idea that the search for meaning is inherently absurd, the philosopher Albert Camus is a key figure, proposing the idea of revolt against the absurd as an act of life affirmation. A philosophical approach that focuses on practical outcomes and the effects of ideas is defended by William James and John Dewey, prominent proponents, arguing that the value of a belief lies in its applicability in practical utility. When addressing these perspectives, it is extremely important to consider their practical and ethical implications and make some general reflections and conclusions on the various existing themes discussed. In existentialism, the emphasis on individual freedom and authenticity can lead to a more conscious and intentional life. However, it can also result in a sense of isolation or overload due to responsibility. Its positive points include individual empowerment, encouraging people to take ownership of their lives and choices, promoting a sense of agency and responsibility, and the pursuit of personal meaning, focusing on authenticity that can lead to a more satisfying life aligned with personal values. The main criticisms are isolation, as the emphasis on individuality can result in a sense of isolation and social disconnection, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility, as every choice can generate overwhelming anguish. In nihilism, recognizing the lack of meaning can be liberating for some, allowing for a re-evaluation of values and priorities. However, it can lead to despair or apathy if not accompanied by an active creation of new values. Its positive points include the recognition of reality, where nihilism forces an honest confrontation with the lack of a pre-established meaning, promoting authenticity, and the destruction of traditional values that makes room for the creation of new personal meanings and purposes. The main criticisms are the despair and apathy generated by these new values linked to destructiveness, such that this phase of value destruction can cause a moral vacuum. Secular humanism offers an ethical foundation without the need for religious foundations, promoting values such as human dignity and social responsibility. However, it can be criticized for lacking a transcendent basis for morality. It promotes ethical and justice values in a rational manner accessible to all, regardless of religious beliefs. Its positive points include promoting ethical and justice values rationally and disconnected from religious beliefs. It can be criticized for lacking a moral foundation, leading to a fragmentation of values. Absurdism promotes an attitude of revolt and life affirmation but can be seen as insufficient in providing lasting meaning for all individuals and as an entirely satisfactory and absolute response. It recognizes the human quest for answers inherent in the meaning of life, developing a passionate revolt against the absurd. It seeks to face life actively, with resilience and courage, in the face of all the lack of meaning in this quest for answers. It is seen as insufficient to provide lasting meaning, with a constant exhausting and even revolting quest. Pragmatism, which is focused on utility, practical outcomes, and the effects of ideas, can be criticized for being excessively relativistic or for ignoring the depth of existential issues inherent in the discussion of such a subject. Postmodernism deconstructs assumptions and narratives but can be seen as excessively skeptical or nihilistic, questioning the possibility of any objective truth or real progress. It values the utility and practicality of ideas, adapting to different contexts and situations. Its negative critical point is being excessively relativistic, with an excessive focus on practical outcomes, ignoring the depth of existential issues to be reflected upon. It challenges narratives and assumptions linked to subjectivity and truth, understanding how power and language shape our perception and understanding of reality. It makes a critique of the power they exert over reality, valuing the multiplicity of perspectives and narratives. It is also seen as excessively skeptical and deconstructive, questioning any truth, leading to extreme relativism. By analyzing the exploration of these philosophical currents, we reveal a diversity of responses to the fundamental question of the meaning of life, freedom, and authenticity. Each approach and debate offers a unique perspective on how to deal with freedom, despair, and the search for meaning, encouraging a continuous dialogue about the role of human beings in the universe and ways to live an authentic and meaningful life. These philosophies are not definitive answers but rather invitations to a continuous personal reflection and quest for meanings and purposes in a complex world like the one we aspire to. This was today's reflection. If you liked and understood the concepts, like the video and share it with your fellow philosophy enthusiasts. Keep philosophizing, and we'll see you in the next video. Remember, it is not enough to conquer wisdom, you must use it.